Welcome to our deep dive into the life of Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
We're going way beyond the knockout punches and the famous quotes to uncover the man behind the legend. And we're going to do that
Right.
using Jonathan Ives' biography as our guide.
That's right.
You know, when you really start digging into Ali's story,
Yeah.
you realize it's not just about boxing.
Oh.
It's about race and ambition and really the courage to stand up.
Yeah.
For what you believe in, even when it seems like the whole world's against you.
Absolutely. And I think what's so interesting is how much of Ali's persona was actually carefully crafted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even as a young boy. Ige reveals that Ali, born Cassius Clay Jr., was just a ball of energy from the get-go.
Wow.
Like his mom even said he was the loudest baby in the hospital.
He was a loud baby.
Yeah.
Wow. So like he was destined for the spotlight right at the beginning.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, but there's this other story that Ike shares about Ali as a toddler banging his head against the chair to put himself to sleep if he wasn't tired.
Oh, wow.
Talk about willpower right from the start.
I mean, right.
That's
incredible.
Yeah.
And that willpower, combined with this upbringing in segregated Louisville.
Right.
It really shaped him, Imagine young Cassius seeing his mother exhausted after a day of cleaning white families' houses or being told he couldn't play in certain parks because of his skin color.
Yeah.
These experiences fueled a fire in him.
Yeah, you can see how those early experiences with racial injustice must have really impacted his worldview.
Oh, absolutely.
It's almost like he was, destined to challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
And that's where the stolen bicycle comes in, right?
Exactly. So picture this.
Okay.
12-year-old Cassius is furious that his bike was stolen, and he storms into this local gym looking for the thief.
Oh, wow.
And he ends up meeting Joe Martin,
Okay.
who's a police officer who trained young boxers. Okay.
And that chance encounter changed everything.
Talk about a turning point.
Right.
But was boxing just a way to channel his anger, or was there something more to it?
Well, Ige argues that Ali saw boxing as this path to something bigger.
Okay.
He realized that individual sports, unlike team sports,
Right.
offer direct recognition and fame.
Okay.
And I think that's really crucial for understanding his later choices. He wasn't just fighting, he was building a brand.
So even as a teenager, he was thinking strategically about his career.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And speaking of strategy, Ige also points out that while schools in Louisville were being peacefully integrated,
Right.
other parts of the country were facing violent resistance to desegregation.
Yeah.
This contrast really highlights, the complexities of the civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
And how Ali's experience wasn't necessarily everyone's experience.
Yeah, it's an important point. The book reminds us that the fight for equality, had many fronts.
Yeah.
And unfolded differently in different places. Right.
And as Ali was honing his skills,
Okay.
he started to turn heads.
Okay.
He even sparred with a seasoned boxer, Willie Pastrano, as a young amateur,
Wow.
leaving a lasting impression.
I can imagine. But what was it about his fighting style that made him stand out even then?
Well, Pastrano remarked on his deceptively effortless technique.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, he didn't look like much outside the ring,
Yeah.
but inside it,
Okay.
his long jabs were surprisingly fast and precise.
Wow.
And, this raw talent combined with his relentless drive hinted at the champion he would become.
Yeah. And this drive was on full display at the Golden Gloves Tournament of Champions in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Ige paints a vivid picture of Ali just soaking up the atmosphere. The energy of the crowd, the drama of the fights. It was like he was meant for that stage.
It was. And not only did Ali win,
Okay.
he also showcased his understanding of self-promotion.
Really?
Remember, this is way before social media.
Right.
He created his own headline proclaiming Cassius signs for Patterson fight,
Wow.
even though it wasn't true.
Oh, okay.
He knew how to grab attention and build anticipation.
So he was a natural showman even then.
Yeah.
Like he was already writing his own legend.
Yeah.
Then, of course, comes the Olympic gold in Rome.
Yes.
But it's fascinating how Ige describes Ali's experience beyond the victory.
Oh, yeah.
What
was that like?
Well, he's staying in this luxurious suite next to the Duke and Duchess of Windsor.
Wow.
He's showering his family with lavish gifts. He's fully embracing the celebrity lifestyle.
Okay.
And this trip exposed him to a level of fame and acceptance that he hadn't experienced before.
Yeah.
Especially as a young black man from segregated America.
Right. It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
He's tasting the fruits of his hard work and ambition. But at the same time, he's becoming increasingly aware of the racial injustices back home.
Right.
And this is where his connection with the Nation of Islam starts to take root. Right?
Exactly. The Nation of Islam's message of Black empowerment and self-reliance
Really resonated deeply with Ali.
Okay.
He was drawn to their message of racial pride,
Right.
especially as he was grappling with the limits imposed by a society that was still, deeply divided along racial lines.
But wasn't that a risky move?
Oh, it was a very risky move.
Yeah.
And Ig details, the anxieties within Ali's white management team.
Yeah.
They understood the potential backlash, the risk of losing lucrative endorsements.
Yeah.
But Ali was already on a path that transcended boxing.
Right.
A path where his personal beliefs were going to collide with his public persona.
And this conflict comes to a head with the tomato red Cadillac incident, right?
Yes, Ali, despite his wealth and fame, faces discrimination.
Oh, wow.
Boondini Brown,
Okay.
who is a close member of his entourage, is refused service at a diner simply because he's Black.
How?
And it's just this stark reminder of the hypocrisy of American society.
So here's Ali, this charismatic young champion grappling with the realities of racism, even as he's achieving incredible success. And then amidst all of this, he receives his draft notice.
Right.
Just weeks after President Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah, talk about turbulent times.
Yeah. This moment is crucial. His association with the Nation of Islam deepens, and he publicly embraces their stance against integration and the Vietnam War.
Right. He was choosing a side,
Yeah.
and it would cost him dearly.
It's hard to overstate the courage it took to defy the government, especially at the height of his career.
Yeah.
But it also reveals this incredible tension
Right.
between his aspirations for personal greatness
Yeah.
and this burgeoning sense of social responsibility.
Absolutely. And Ig reminds us that this was also a time of intense paranoia and surveillance.
Right.
J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI were deeply suspicious of the Nation of Islam, and Ali's association with them made him a target.
Wow.
He was fighting a battle both inside and outside the ring.
And this battle wasn't just political, it was also deeply personal. His first marriage to Sanji falls apart, partly due to the Nation of Islam's strict expectations of women.
Yeah.
It seems like Ali was constantly pulled between different forces, different ideologies.
Yeah, it speaks to the complexities of his life.
Right.
Here's a man embracing a faith that's empowering him, yet it's also restricting certain aspects of his personal life.
Yeah.
And despite running millions, he struggled financially.
Really?
He was incredibly generous, almost to a fault,
Okay.
often giving away money to family and friends.
You mentioned this earlier, but Ig suggests that Ali's financial struggles were partly due to his trusting nature and lack of business acumen.
Yeah.
He even kept a drawer full of cash,
Right?
handing out wads of bills to anyone who asked.
I know.
It's like his generosity made him vulnerable to those who wanted to exploit him.
Absolutely.
And it's a recurring theme in his life.
Yeah.
He surrounds himself with people who don't always have his best interests at heart,
Right.
but it's also a testament to his character.
Yeah.
He couldn't say no to those in need, even if it meant jeopardizing his own financial security.
It's incredible.
But his refusal to be drafted,
Yes.
that's what truly solidified his status as a symbol of resistance.
Absolutely.
He risked everything, his career, his freedom, even his reputation.
Yeah, this act of defiance was a turning point, not just for Ali's career,
Right.
but for the civil rights movement.
Wow.
He challenged the government,
Yeah.
the establishment, and the very notion of what it meant to be a Black man in America.
It's a powerful reminder of the impact one person can have when they're willing to stand up for what they believe in, no matter the cost.
It is.
And his story is far from over. We'll delve deeper into his iconic fights,
Right.
his personal struggles, and his enduring legacy
Yes.
in the next part of our deep dive.
It's incredible how Ali's defiance really reverberated far beyond the boxing ring.
Yeah.
He became this symbol of resistance against the Vietnam War and racial injustice,
Right.
inspiring a generation to question authority and fight for their beliefs.
And while he was fighting these monumental battles, his personal life continued to be a whirlwind.
Oh, yeah.
Ig dives into how Ali's entourage evolved over time,
Right.
shifting from, close friends and family to a mix of businessmen and celebrities, and even some, as Ig puts it, streetwise hustlers.
Yeah, this evolution really reflects, the trappings of fame.
Right.
And the constant pull on Ali's generosity.
Yeah.
He was always open to helping people, sometimes to his own detriment.
Right. And it's fascinating how Ig also debunks that popular myth about Ali throwing his Olympic medal into the Ohio River
Oh, yeah.
after being denied service at a restaurant.
Right.
Wait, so that didn't happen?
No.
I always thought that story was true.
It turns out he simply lost the medal.
Really?
But the myth persists.
Wow.
And it highlights how powerfully certain anecdotes, even if they're false,
Right.
can shape public perception.
Yeah.
This speaks volumes about the pervasive discrimination Ali faced,
Yeah.
despite his achievements.
It's a reminder that even as a global icon, he wasn't immune to the realities of racism.
No.
And speaking of complexities, there's this incredibly poignant story about Ali's brother, Rahman,
Right.
who is living in near poverty despite Ali's promises to take care of him.
Yeah, this heartbreaking detail unveils a stark contrast
Right.
between Ali's public persona as a champion for his people
Yeah.
and the often messy reality of personal relationships.
Right.
It humanizes him, showing that even with the best intentions, personal struggles and complexities can exist.
It makes you wonder about the weight of expectations placed on Ali, both as a champion and a symbol for his community.
Yeah.
But even amidst personal challenges,
Yeah.
he didn't shy away from using his platform for social change.
Absolutely. Ig recounts Ali's trips to Africa to promote the Olympic boycott and his meetings with political leaders to advocate against war and racism.
Wow.
He was a controversial figure, no doubt,
Right.
but there's no denying the impact of his voice and actions.
He certainly wasn't afraid to shake things up. Now let's dive into some of those legendary fights.
Okay.
The rivalry between Ali and Joe Frazier was legendary.
Yes.
Ig brilliantly describes their contrasting styles, I with his agility and speed versus Frazier's relentless pressure and that powerful left hook.
It was a clash of titans,
Wow.
both physically and psychologically. Beyond the contrasting styles, there was a deep personal animosity,
Really?
fueled by Ali's taunting and often hurtful insults.
Wow.
He even portrayed Frazier as an Uncle Tom,
Oh, wow.
exploiting racist stereotypes to gain a psychological edge.
It's hard to imagine the intensity of those fights. Ig quotes Frazier as saying, "I'll open the cut on his eye, and I'll keep it open."
Oh, man.
That's some serious fighting talk.
It is.
But were they always at each other's throats, or was there any respect beneath the rivalry?
What's fascinating is that despite the animosity,
Yeah.
there was a level of respect
Okay.
and even friendship between them. Ig recounts a story where Ali and Frazier are on a road trip together,
What?
singing songs, sharing stories,
Wow.
and offering each other advice.
That's amazing.
It's a reminder that even the most bitter rivals can find common ground.
That's a powerful image showing the complex dynamics of their relationship.
Yeah.
And then there's the rumble in the jungle against George Foreman in Zaire.
Oh, yes.
That fight was a spectacle unlike anything the world had seen.
Right.
From the pre-fight hype to the unexpected rope-a-dope strategy.
Yeah, and in that spectacle, we see Ali's genius unfold.
Okay.
Ig describes how Ali, instead of engaging with Foreman's brute force, he strategically conserved his energy,
Oh, wow.
leaning against the ropes, absorbing Foreman's punches until Foreman exhausted himself.
It sounds almost counterintuitive, but it worked.
I know, it's amazing.
But can we talk about the physical toll those fights must have taken on Ali?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that rope-a-dope strategy must have been brutal.
It was.
Uh,
And Ig doesn't shy away from the potential health risks, even sharing a moment where Ali winks at Jim Brown during the Foreman fight,
really?
conveying this sense of, control and confidence.
Right.
But this confidence came at a cost.
Yeah.
His doctor, Ferdy Pacheco,
Okay.
and sparring partner Larry Holmes began noticing signs of potential brain damage.
It's a sobering reminder of the physical sacrifices these fighters make.
It is.
But it also makes you wonder, did Ali ever acknowledge the damage? Or was he in denial about the risks?
That's something Ig explores as well.
Okay.
As Ali's career progressed, the evidence of potential brain damage became more apparent,
Right.
foreshadowing his later struggles with Parkinson's disease.
Right.
But Ali, known for his bravado and confidence, wasn't always willing to admit vulnerability.
It's a humanizing detail.
Right.
Even the greatest among us struggle with confronting our own limitations.
Yeah.
Now, I know we focused on his boxing career,
Right.
but what about Ali's personal life during this time?
Well, Ig reveals that Ali's relationship with Veronica, the woman who would become his third wife, actually began while he was still married to Belinda.
Wow.
It was a complex and controversial relationship.
Yeah.
adding another layer to the already tumultuous personal life of the champ.
It's interesting how Ollie's personal life often mirrored the societal upheavals he was challenging in the public sphere.
Yeah.
It's as if he was constantly pushing boundaries, both personally and professionally.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
And while navigating these personal complexities,
Yeah.
Ollie continued to grapple with financial struggles.
Right.
Despite earning millions.
Yeah.
He was prone to bad business decisions
Okay.
and was possibly even exploited by those closest to him,
Really?
including Herbert Muhammad,
Okay.
who managed his finances.
You mentioned this earlier, but it seems like a pattern in Ollie's life.
Yeah.
This tendency to trust the wrong people.
Right.
But was it just naivety, or was there something more to it?
I suggest that Ollie's generosity and desire to help others, rooted in his own experiences with poverty and discrimination,
Yeah, okay.
made him vulnerable.
Right.
He was constantly bombarded with business propositions and requests for financial assistance.
Yeah.
And he often found it difficult to say no.
It's a reminder that even the most celebrated figures can be susceptible to manipulation and exploitation.
Absolutely.
Especially when their personal values clash with the realities of a cutthroat business world.
Right.
But with all of this happening, how did his boxing career continue to unfold?
Well, as Ollie entered the later stages of his career,
Yeah.
he faced new challenges.
Okay.
His speed and agility,
Right.
which had been his trademarks,
Mm-hmm.
began to decline.
Right.
He fought longer than many experts believed he should have,
Wow.
driven by this complex mix of pride,
Yeah.
financial pressures, and the need to prove himself.
It makes you wonder about the mental and emotional toll of staying at the top for so long.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the longer he fought,
Right.
the more vulnerable he became, both physically and financially.
It's a tragic irony. The very qualities that made Ollie great.
Right.
His unwavering determination,
Yeah.
his trust in those around him, also contributed to his downfall.
Oh.
Ike doesn't shy away from depicting these complexities,
Right.
showing us a flawed and vulnerable man beneath the legend.
It's almost like he was living two completely separate lives. The public persona of the invincible champion,
Right.
and then the private reality of a man really grappling with these increasingly difficult circumstances.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the cost of greatness and the sacrifices made along the way.
Absolutely.
But how did the public perceive this shift, especially as his fighting career began to wind down?
Well, Ike points out this fascinating shift in Ollie's relationship with the press.
Okay.
Early on, he was very confrontational,
Right.
using the media to his advantage.
Right.
He understood the power of self-promotion.
Yeah.
But as his health declined and his fights became less frequent,
Okay.
he grew more guarded, even choosing silence at times.
That's a striking change for someone who once commanded so much attention.
It is.
Do you think this silence was a deliberate strategy, or was it more a reflection of his internal struggles?
That's a question Ike explores in the biography.
Okay.
He suggests that Ollie, despite his outward confidence, was deeply sensitive to criticism
Wow.
and craved approval.
Really?
As his physical abilities diminished,
Yeah.
he may have sought refuge in a quieter, more reflective persona.
It's a bittersweet realization, this larger-than-life figure,
Right.
the master of self-promotion,
Yeah.
choosing to step back from the spotlight.
Yeah.
But even in his silence, there were these moments of profound impact.
Absolutely. Think about the 1996 Atlanta Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the world watched as a trembling,
Right.
but determined, Ollie lit the Olympic torch.
It was a powerful image.
It was.
That transcended sports,
Yeah.
speaking to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity.
Mm-hmm.
That moment is etched in my memory.
Mine too.
It was as if his vulnerability became his strength.
Right.
And through it all, Lonnie Ali, his fourth wife,
Yes.
was a steadfast presence.
Lonnie played a crucial role, especially as Ollie's health deteriorated.
Right.
She became his protector, managing his affairs,
Wow.
shielding him from those who might exploit his generosity.
In her eulogy,
Yes.
she eloquently described the many forces that shaped his life,
Mm-hmm.
from his parents to the social and political turmoil of his time.
Absolutely.
Her words remind us that even extraordinary individuals are shaped by their environment, by the people and the events that surround them.
It's true.
It brings us back to the beginning of our deep dive,
Right.
realizing that Ollie's story, while unique, also reflects these universal truths
Mm-hmm.
about the human experience.
Exactly. It's a story about ambition,
Yeah.
about confronting injustice,
Mm-hmm.
about the courage to stand up for what you believe in,
Right.
even when the world seems against you.
It's about the complexities of fame and that delicate balance between public persona
Right.
and private struggles.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ali's life,
Yeah.
what would you say is the most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think for me, it's the realization that Ali was so much more than just a boxer. He was this complex and contradictory figure.
Right.
A product of his time, but also a visionary who helped shape the world around him.
Yeah.
He forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about race, religion, and the limits of human potential.
He made us think.
Yeah.
He made us laugh.
Yes.
And he challenged us to be better.
He did.
I couldn't agree more. And what I find so compelling is how Ike's biography doesn't shy away from Ali's flaws.
Right.
We see his triumphs,
Yes.
but also his mistakes, his struggles, and his vulnerabilities. And this honesty makes him a more relatable and ultimately a more fascinating figure.
Absolutely. It reminds us that our heroes are human too.
Yeah.
They make mistakes. They grapple with doubts.
Right. And they evolve over time.
Well said. And on that note, I'll leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay.
How would Ali's life have unfolded differently in today's social media-driven world? Would he have been a Twitter warrior?
Right.
A master of the viral moment?
Yeah.
Or would he have transcended those limitations, using his voice to spark meaningful conversations and inspire change?
It's a great question.
It is something to ponder.
It is.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Yes.
And keep those questions coming